if you go down there and yell at the driver. I can be okay with it. I don't love it. I'd rather see the driver go talk to the driver. Um, but I'm not. I don't think that that was way out of line by the 38's crew chief either. To want to go down there and have a word with them.
Following is a production of the garage area.
Welcome into the garage area. This is our post Iowa recap show, and I tried to talk Ryan into having the show in a cornfield, but he said that we don't get very good Wi-Fi out there, so we had to stick with our normal places here on Zoom. Um, we see William Byron end up getting the race win. Brad Keselowski had a good shot at the win, didn't pan out for him. Some other things took place over the weekend as well, so we'll go ahead and talk about all of that. But starting with our picks, Ryan, who'd you have this week?
Kyle Larson.
I had Ryan Blaney, and I talked myself out of Ryan Preece. It was a big Ryan weekend for me for sure. I was taking one or the other, and now I'm here talking to you. Where did Larson finish, and what happened to him?
He finished 28th and he got bounced, beat around, damage on his car, and whatever strategy played out, he ended up in the back and couldn't make his way forward. I saw at one point on pit road, his hood was separated from the fender, like you could see gaps and things here and there. So, I think he probably had enough damage that, considering his hard pass due to aero, and when you lose the aero that you do have, it just he got stuck in the back. So, I think that's what happened. I don't know any more than that. He got half wrecked by everyone too. So
Yeah, including the nine, right?
yeah, they both had it at each other. Not the nine got into the five, and the five got into the nine. So they're even for the night.
Interesting. Interesting. I bet you we come back to that.
I see that. Yeah.
Ryan Blaney finished fourth. He had a really fast car, it seemed like, but it didn't appear that anybody was going to touch the six, um, as far as just pure speed. And I still thought, with Blaney putting the tires on there at the end, that he was going to have a chance to at least get to third, or rather to second. And I thought that the 24 was going to run out of gas, but that never ended up happening. So, what did this do for us in points?
You took the lead by like 25, so I can pick SVG next week.
Yeah, that was my very first thought. I knew that I took the lead in points because there was such a disparage difference, whatever. I
Disparity
said,
or
yeah, there it is, disparity in the results at Iowa between Blaney and Larson. And I thought that I was going to be in pretty good shape, and then I realized, oh, we got Watkins Glen. Oh, Ryan's going to pick SVG, and I don't know. It seems a little unfair, personally. I'm gonna have to file a grievance against the commissioner of this league.
uh,
Um, but yeah, that's I would totally expect you to pick SVG going into Watkins Glen. I'll probably pick Bubba Wallace, but uh, you know, I'll be full disclosure on this race. I wasn't. I guess my expectations weren't super high going into it, but I was. I don't know. It wasn't like it's not like Pocono for me to where I was like, I don't, I'll pay attention at the end of the stages, see where the strategy shakes out, and see who wins the race. I don't need to follow every lap of the race. I didn't feel that way coming into Iowa, but um, I had some other things that I had to do on Sunday afternoon, and I had the race on TV, but I was largely listening to it more than watching it. And when the race was over, I got to watch the last, I don't know, 50 laps or so, probably sit down and watch it. Um, so I felt like I at least had a good grasp on how the race ended. But some of the stuff that happened throughout the day, I didn't necessarily see all the details of that. My point being, after the race was over and I got on Twitter, I was somewhat surprised at how upset people were about the quality of the race. Um, as somebody who I assume you watched the whole race,
oh yeah.
what what were your thoughts? Like, did you feel the same way as the reaction on Twitter was, or did
Um,
you?
I think so for the most part. I think I had higher expectations for this race. So I remember last year Iowa, I thought put on a pretty good race. Um, was it? I think it may have been a night race last year. Um, but I don't fully remember. I just remember seeing they showed video of Ryan Blaney winning last year, and I believe it was under the lights. But I felt like the race last year put on a decent show, and it was almost because of the I think the asphalt, the new asphalt, and the blending with the old asphalt or something last year. I think actually made the race somewhat decent. I could be mistaken, but once they got going there, once they got kind of single filed out, it was just it was the arrow was so much worse than I remembered last year. And I know short tracks in themselves have been pretty bad for this next gen car, but I felt like it was almost nearly as bad as Indy was with the arrow and stuff. I remember watching a car pull up to another car in the corner and it just shoot up the racetrack. And um, you know, in the end they'll say guys made passes and stuff like Bubba Wallace went from the back to sixth, and I mean I watched Chase Elliott drive from 25th up to 13th or 14th where he finally finished, and um, but that's in the back of the pack when everybody has bad air and everybody's more on equal grounds at that point. So it just this short track race turned into the save fuel and try and pass people on pit road type race again.
Yeah, which is what a typical next gen race is. Um, I guess that's kind of where I went wrong was on the restarts and stuff. I could see that it looked like whoever got out front, it was hard to catch them again. But that's, I mean, that's typical next gen racing. Uh, because I was watching Ryan Blaney and he wasn't in the lead, but I could see him trying to, you know, on the restart match the leader, and it wasn't working out. And then it looked like if, after a few laps, he wasn't able to, wasn't even making a run at him basically. And so, oh, okay, and I'd go back to doing what I was doing. But in the last several laps that I got to watch, I saw, Keselowski come from the back. I saw Bubba come from the back. I saw, some of these guys that were able to work their way through the field. And Blaney was coming there at the end, and I was like, I guess I just didn't have the perception that it was that hard to pass, but I didn't watch the whole race either. So I could see where my perspective is skewed there. I guess that leads me to where you would end up rating the race. What do you got?
Um, I don't remember what I had Indy. I'll put it above Indy. Let's see. Yeah, I had Indy at a 3, so I'll give it a 4. That I just
What,
go ahead.
what did I have India
Um, you had it at a 5.
at? I was thinking 6 for Iowa, so I guess our metrics track.
Yeah, it just I don't know. I just had higher expectations. The the only thing that made it interesting was fuel strategy at the end with the beginning of the third stage going caution, 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 and then varying points at which each drivers decided to pit and how much fuel they had left. It was kind of all you're on edge waiting to see if uh, Byron could make it to the end. Kozlowski, if because he pitted a little bit, I remember I think he pitted a little bit later than Byron, maybe. I don't remember how much more fuel he had, but um, trying to see if they could get the tires, had enough tire difference to come up through the field, and they didn't. Byron was able to get past a couple of them lap cars and just kind of stay right in front of them is all he did. You watched Ryan Blaney. I don't remember how many seconds behind third place he was, but he drove right up to the back of Priest and was it Priest and Kozlowski? No, it was Briscoe and Kozlowski. But once he got
Yeah.
up to third there and they aero blocked him, he couldn't make no more ground. He obviously had a faster car
Yeah.
in clean air. But once he got into the dirty air, he just stalled his momentum. And we say the same thing every week. It's just this car is absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Um, did you vote in the Jeff Gluck poll?
I did not.
Uh, do you know where it ended up?
No, I haven't seen it.
What would you guess it would be?
I feel like I remember someone talking about it, but I'm going to say probably 50% at best.
It's pretty close. It's a 47% yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's almost split. But do you feel like, well, I got a lot of questions here. We've talked about it before. It seems like every race comes down to be a fuel strategy race. And to some degree, I guess that's what makes what we've got now entertaining because we don't have any passing to watch. We just have to watch the fuel strategy portion of things. Do you think it's kind of got to the point now to where whoever's providing the information of how many laps of fuel they have left is just not even close to the right calculation? Because, oh, Logano saved so much fuel last year, uh, whatever racetrack that was that he won at. Um, where
I'll
did he
say it
win?
was Nashville.
That's what I'm thinking of. Uh, where we had 147 restarts, and then oh, is Bubba gonna make it or not? He didn't end up hitting, and is he gonna? And yeah, he had enough to do a burnout and go to victory lane. Uh, oh, there's no way Byron's gonna make it, and then he wins the race and does a burnout and goes to victory lane. And like, do you think that there's just some gross miscalculation between the people that are presenting the information on TV and what the actual amount of fuel is? Like, I don't think that Byron wasn't close. I think he was close, but do you think that there was a real threat of him running out?
Yeah, I don't know what information TV has. I obviously don't believe they have the same exact calculations as the drivers and crew do. Um, it's I don't know how they measure how much fuel you're saving, like under caution, how they calculate, shut off car time, and they're always shutting it off, coasting, firing it up, shutting off, coasting, fire it up, and I don't know what technology is out there to tell what they're doing, but um, obviously Rudy Fugel was saying, all right, just maintain that gap. He was saying, back up to him, back up to him. Obviously, he was worried about fuel, but that could have been also hoping he'd save more if there was a green white checker or something too. So, um,
Yeah.
I don't know who has what information, but that's uh, yeah, that's I don't have any more on that. So
It is kind of disappointing that that's you can be told to back up, back up, back up, and there's just no threat of you getting past. It is so frustrating to see. Um, I feel like there's no chance that anybody runs out of fuel. I don't mean that the way it sounds. I feel like, back in the day when you'd watch races, it was like, oh, they're really close on fuel. They're shaking it out in the backstretch, and that, somebody else would go by. And I just feel like we don't see that from the lead like we used to see that. I feel like if it's going to be close for them to make it on fuel, they always make it in the last several years.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I imagine they probably have more SMT and stuff is kind of more of a recent thing. I remember. Let's see. I mean, I don't know when SMT really started for these cars. I guess it's not called SMT anymore, but that's just what I don't know what it actually
Yeah.
is anymore. But um, yeah, I don't know. I wish teams didn't have this type of access to this data, but that's neither here nor there. But
Yeah. Do you feel like that Byron, I mean, he got his first win since the Daytona 500. Did you expect him to win more races before this point?
yeah, I definitely expect him to have more. I think they started off pretty hot there at the beginning. He was running up front all the time. Then he went through a slump, and last couple of weeks he'd been running better. But I expected more out of him.
Well, that's what they brought up on the teardown. I think it was Bianchi that said that, oh yeah, Byron, he's just been running bad lately, and it's good for him to get a win. And I'm like, I don't really remember him running bad. I don't remember him competing for wins, but running bad seems like quite the stretch. I never felt like he was running bad, but it always seems like Byron has early season success and then kind of tapers off. Did you feel that way too?
I definitely remember that from last year. He started off, he had like 3 wins in the first part of the season, and I don't remember if he got any more throughout the rest of the year or not. But uh, yeah, I know this year he was running real hot at the beginning, like he was always in contention for a win. And I say his slump, he would run top 10 and stuff. He wasn't like dominating or leading as much as he would have been in previous races or talked about as much. He had a couple of bad breaks. Chicago, his clutch or something issue, he didn't. He only ran like 1 or 2 laps before they went to the garage and done for the day. Um, he slipped up at Charlotte in the 600, so he lost that race. So that could have been another win there that Chastain pulled away from him. So I mean, he's always been in contention. It just feels like he's been more laid back and not making as much noise, like I would say, I guess. But I think he's been fast every week. He just I think over the last few couple weeks, or whatever, the speed has been back again.
Do you think that he's a clean air merchant? He can only win races if he qualifies on the pole and leads all the laps.
I I have no idea about that. I haven't
You
paid
think
that
he
much
has the
attention to
ability
him.
to race his way to the front?
I think he does. I think he's able to race his way to the front, but I mean, but obviously at one point he was in the back due to the pit strategy, and he I mean he took the lead away from Chase Elliott there on that strategy and stuff. So
Ah,
I
Chase
mean,
Elliott.
okay, well,
We're not exactly talking about Jimmy Johnson here.
yeah,
Uh, no, I don't know. I just saw so many posts of people hating on Byron so hard of being, you can only win a race when you start out front and stay out front all day. You could never race your way up to the lead or anything like that. Um, it
I think
does.
most times in this car, people who win start up front in clean air. So
You're right, but again, Briscoe starts on the pole every week and can't win a race except for Pocono.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I guess I see their point. It's probably not as bad as they're making out to be, but again, I love to hate on Hendrick drivers, so I'm on this bandwagon. I think that
yeah,
Byron stinks and he can't win anything unless he's out front. That's at least the narrative I'm going with for now.
yeah. Joey can only win
Uh,
championships when another car gets disqualified. So
he has two other ones that tell you otherwise. Chase Elliott can only win a championship in a COVID year. I'm just saying. Anyways, speaking of winning, Brad Keselowski had a fast car. Did he win both stages?
yeah,
And had the fastest lap, right?
yep.
And he finished third. Is that right?
Um, I thought it was I thought it was second, but second or third, yeah,
But I just felt like this was going to be a real shot for him to win. Not going into the day, but as the race unfolded, I felt like he had a real opportunity to win the race. He was running fast, but the whole time that I'm seeing that Solomon Plumbing Ford out front, it was just like it's kind of like when Justin Allgaier's leading an Xfinity race. It's like, what's going to happen to him? He's got a fast car. Brad's got the ability. What's going to happen to take him out of the win here? And nothing catastrophic happened. They just had too many cautions basically for Byron to save enough fuel.
yeah. He finished third, but I just it feels like anytime Brad has a good car, you're just waiting to see what goes wrong. Um, Not that anything really went wrong. It's just the way the strategies played out and who got ahead of who. And I think Brad was faster than the 19, but with all the air blocking and stuff that goes on, you couldn't get around the guy. Plus the 19 and Brad caught up to lap traffic, which made more dirty air and couldn't pass. It made it harder to pass yet. So it just he just kind of got stuck in a bad situation.
Yeah. Um, do you feel like this was Brad's best shot to win a race to get into the playoffs?
Um, Obviously, I believe he'll be fast at Daytona, just because I know he's good there. But anything can happen at Daytona. This is like one of the first races I can really remember him having this kind of speed. So as of seeing right now, this is probably was his best chance, best car he's ever had to win a race this year. So I guess I could say yeah to that.
Do you think that he will win a race this year, even if it's not to get him in the playoffs?
I I really don't know if I could say. I don't. I just the I think RFK as a whole is probably one of the more inconsistent teams. I feel like each week there's like one car that's fast. And I this year I think Ryan Preece has been the most consistent car out there, which kind of surprised me at the beginning of the year when we talked about it because I didn't think he was. I think we talked about that. I haven't really seen him viable enough to be competing in the Cup Series, which to me he's proved me wrong because he's been the best car at RFK. So um, that I just I think Brad gets one shot once in a while anymore, and I think he may have missed a shot this weekend if it's
Yeah,
not a Daytona or Talladega.
yeah, I think you're probably right, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I was surprised that he came out running as strong as he did and had the as good an opportunity as he had, and it's kind of a shame for him that that got squandered away. I guess I don't know. It's kind of like him and Kyle Busch. If they're in a position to win a race, you almost want to see them follow through and win it. And I don't know why that is. It's just I guess it's the guys you watched getting old type thing. But I don't know. Makes me think. Just makes me want to see them just get one more. You know?
Yeah. I was rooting for Brad at the end, hoping he'd get by Briscoe and even Byron. I was like, get Byron, even though I'm more of a Hendrick fan, but I kind of I'd rather see Brad up there and getting his due instead of some of these new guys. I guess I don't know. It's just getting old and rooting for the old guys now. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Um, the 38 and the 77. Hocevar on the bottom got loose, wiped out the 38, Zane Smith, and backed that car into the fence. And did we confirm it's Zane's crew chief that came over and talked to Hocevar?
I believe so. That's what everyone has said on any other podcast or whatever. So,
First of all, do you think it was Hocevar's fault?
well, obviously, Hocevar is the one driving the car. He got loose,
Well,
and
okay, okay. I
yeah.
guess, do you think that he deserves the normal Hocevar hate? Or do you think it was just, look, he got loose, the 38 was there, sorry about your luck?
That's more of how I see it. But on the same hand, obviously, he seems to overcook a lot into the corners or whatever, whether somebody's there or not. Drives too aggressively. Um, I could see it both ways, but to me, this was just a racing incident and kind of tough luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then the other big question that's being posed this week is fair or foul with the crew chief going over to talk to the other driver.
Um, to me, the crew chief is fine. Um, I had Zane Smith and Hocevar, both young drivers. Um, you know, I say if it's a crew chief, car chief, or something like that, and the drivers, those are I would say the three guys that can go say something to the other guys. I think they're the leaders of the teams. You know, having like pit crew members or something go to the driver and things like that might be a little extreme, unless like the drivers are there already talking or something like that. If they're kind of backing their guy up or something, but the crew chief especially is the leader of the team for the most part, and maybe driver, maybe car chief. It would be the few drivers I say could go up and say something. Maybe not start a fight. I would say if you're gonna start a fight or throw punches or something like that, then that should be driver on driver. And if you want your crews in the melee too or something, then I get that. But to me, that's driver versus driver at that point. But say a few words and things like that, I'm okay with the crew chief talking to host bar like that.
I was just thinking the same thing that I don't want to see any crew chief on driver crime. I want to see driver on driver crime. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Uh, if the drivers have an issue with it, I want to see them go pound on each other a little bit. And I'm fine with seeing the crew chiefs fight too. I want to see the crew chiefs throw down every once in a while. Um, I feel like Rudy Fugel's somebody that would have a good advantage on most of the crew chiefs on the box. Um, just sheer size, he's in a weight class all his own. Uh, but I guess for me, I agree. The crew chief can't touch the driver. I mean, if you want to go down there and yell at him, that's to me that's the line. Like you got your toes on the line if you go down there and yell at the driver. I can be okay with it. I don't love it. I'd rather see the driver go talk to the driver. Um, but I'm not. I don't think that that was way out of line by the 38's crew chief either. To want to go down there and have a word with them. And it's like they said on DBC today, well, the crew chief should tell the other crew chief, tell your driver. And like Tommy Baldwin said, he goes, I'm sure he's told him. Like he's just not doing it. So I can see that in this case that it's go take matters into your own hands. Um, I guess it's just questionable whether or not Carson deserved it in this case, is kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I think a talking to was all right in that instance. That was. I don't know if the 38 coming back trying to wipe out the 77 at that later in that race was really the right move, but I don't know if you saw that or not. But that was.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you better make contact. That's all I gotta say. They said they were. I don't remember was it DBC saying he could have been a hero this week, but it didn't quite work out. But
Yeah. Yeah, take a couple lessons from Austin Hill if you want to get that uh, straightened out. He's the guy that knows how to make that happen. Denny said on his podcast that the 5 and the 9 were both laying back on the restarts and getting large runs, which was taking guys 3 and 4 wide and essentially causing the rash of cautions that we had there towards the end of the stage or towards the end of the race. Uh, how do you feel about that? It being a big Larson and Elliott defender.
um, I don't think either one of those two are the ones that caused any of the cautions. So, but obviously, I don't think they were the only ones laying back because other people were going 3 wide and things too. So, um, I after I heard that, I never went back and looked to see any of them restarts and whether or not any replays showed anything that's out there right now or not. But um, obviously, if I don't know, I'd have to see the replays to see what was going on. If they were laying back, then they should have been penalized. And NASCAR deemed they weren't laying back, and they weren't laying back. I don't know, but
I guess that's really what I wanted to hear you say was that if they were laying back, they should be penalized because that's where I agree with. If they got a run without laying back and they made it 3 or 4 wide and other cars weren't able to hold their position and cause wrecks, I mean, you would think after it happens a couple times, maybe you go, maybe I don't put everybody in a bad spot on this restart. But that would be well within their right as drivers to do that if they wanted to. It's only if they gain that run by laying back on the restart that I've got an issue.
yeah. Like I said, I'd have to go back and really look at it to see. Um, yeah.
That's really everything that I had out of the cup race. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think I got nothing from the Cup race, anyways. But
Your Xfinity hero Sam Mayer ends up getting the win uh, in the cornfield out there in Iowa, and I know that you're a big Sam Mayer fan, former JRM guy. He's got the S and the M on his chest on his fire suit like he's Superman. Um, what's not to love? But I guess really the thing that I wanted to talk about from this race was the Matt DiBenedetto wreck where he put oil on the racetrack and there was no caution called for it, and then Brandon Jones comes around and wrecked. What were they doing?
I don't know. That was, I mean, the whole booth was talking like there's got to be oil or fluid on a track. Why isn't there a caution? Why isn't there a caution? Of course, then they're showing replays from Homestead from years ago where the drivers are complaining about oil on the track for 5 laps, and the Bodine, the pace car driver or whatever, is like the track looks fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea what was going on there. I mean, I don't know if it was oil or water from the radiator from De Benedetto or what, but I mean, with all that steam and smoke that was coming out of De Benedetto's car, you had to have known there was fluid on the track.
Yeah, you would have to think so. It was just so weird because they were so on it. It seemed like on every other caution to where if there was an incident, they were calling the caution right away. And that one, it just was like it's like they went to get some popcorn while that was happening or something.
Yeah.
Uh, no truck race this week, but there was some truck news. Caden Honeycutt announced that he's driving for a different team and manufacturer next year, and Nice Motorsports said, "That's cool, see you later," and basically fired him from his ride right away. And due to Stuart Friesen's injury, where he's not going to be back in the truck the rest of the year, it looks like Caden's going to get in the 52, except for this week where they're going to put Christopher Bell in the 52 and Honeycutt's going to be in the 02 of Young's Motorsports. Just kind of an interesting whole scenario there.
Yeah, it's what gets me is the closest thing I can remember to this was the Reddick contract with 2311 when he was still driving for RCR. He still had a year left on his contract, and um actually a year and a half when it was announced, and he finished out the year, but then RCR released him after the year, and then Reddick went to 2311 that year, a year early, but um I believe that's how it worked out. But anyhow, it just I don't know. I feel like contracts don't mean anything to the teams or whatever. If you can just release a guy because he's decided next year I'm moving to a different team, but I don't know what all the details are about the contract and what was maybe there was something more internal. But you have your driver in the playoffs with that truck and you cut him just because he's announcing plans to upgrade to a different truck next year. It just doesn't seem right, but there could be more out there I don't know.
I'm sure, as usual, that there's more that we don't know, but that does seem like an odd move on their part. Um, it sounds too like they mentioned on DBC that Connor Zilic could have some big news coming this week. Wonder what that could be. Like maybe he's gonna announce to drive the 99 truck or the 99 car for Trackhouse in the Cup Series. I feel like that could be a possibility that that news is coming. But you were telling me before we jumped on about some other news that might be happening with Legacy.
Yeah, I don't know. DBC, I heard it on DBC. I think Freddie Kraft was talking about it, that there's rumors that I think Legacy may be buying out Haas Automation Team or whatever. So, and be moving into their compound. I know Legacy was trying to get a third charter from Rick Ware, and there's a dispute on whether it was supposed to be for next year or 2 years from now. But and of course Rick Ware has also got a either bought out or a co-owner, and they were trying to sell a charter after that fact or something to that, and there's a whole big lawsuit mess with that. So I don't know if Legacy's like, well, if they don't work out with this lawsuit, they're gonna might buy out and probably end up with the Haas charter in the end of this. So um, it's just a whole weird situation playing out over there.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Um,
Um, it did feel like it was kind of a light week. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I think that's all I can think of.
Next week, all three series go to Watkins Glen, Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks. What are you expecting from Watkins Glen out of the Cup Series? Do you think it's going to be like the other road courses we've seen, just going to watch SVG dominate? Is he going to be able to win both stages in the race or just one stage in the race this time?
Um, I have no idea. I imagine there'll be some stage flipping. He probably won't win one or something like that. But um, well, I guess you remember back to Sonoma or whatever that. I think this week there's a lot more points racing going on. A lot of people will be staying out for points around that cut line and whatnot for the playoffs and things like that. I think it might be a little harder for SVG to win a stage depending on how far ahead he gets. But I think the Larson was just a perfect storm that that many people pitted before the stage that Larson or that SVG was able to run down Larson, who had been so far behind at that point.
Yeah.
To that effect, but I think Connor Zilic could win the truck race, Xfinity race, and maybe the Cup race even. So I think Zilic is running in the Cup race this weekend too. So maybe he can go for the trifecta.
Wow. Yeah, it that'd be interesting. The old Kyle Busch sweep on a weekend would be interesting for somebody like Zillich to be pulling off this early.
Yeah.
My money's still on Shane.
Yeah. Same.
Anything else before we get out of here?
That's all I got.
All right, remember to follow us on our socials, X at the garage area, or at garage area, Instagram at the garage area, and TikTok at the dot garage dot area. Ryan still hasn't got those cleaned up. I haven't asked him to do that, so that's probably why. Follow our personal accounts at Adam White underscore 22 and at Ryan WW 924. And we will see you after Watkins Glen.